In 1945 Japan, as World War II nears its end, kamikaze pilot Koichi Shikishima arrives on Odo Island under the pretense of aircraft repairs. He meets head mechanic Sosaku Tachibana, who suspects Koichi may have deserted his mission. Koichi takes up temporary residence at a coastal military camp. That night, the ground trembles with thunderous footsteps. Soldiers investigate and are horrified to discover Godzilla approaching. The monstrous creature rampages through the camp, killing several soldiers. Koichi attempts to flee but loses consciousness during the chaos. Both he and Tachibana survive the brutal attack. Returning to his village in Tokyo, now ravaged by the aftermath of war, Koichi is met with resentment. A local woman recognizes him and blames him and other soldiers for the deaths of their loved ones, including Koichi's own family. One day, Koichi crosses paths with a woman, Noriko Oishi, being pursued by authorities. She places a baby in his arms before fleeing. Initially hesitant, Koichi considers abandoning the child but ultimately cannot. Noriko later returns and follows Koichi home, explaining that the baby is not hers. She found her orphaned after an air raid. Despite his reservations, Koichi chooses to care for the baby, whom they name Akiko. Over time, he and Noriko form an unconventional yet heartfelt family unit. 2 years later, Koichi and Noriko are living as devoted parents to young Akiko. Koichi joins a minesweeping crew and quickly bonds with his new teammates, Kenji Doc Noda, Captain Yoji Akitsu, and Shiro Kid Mizushima. Their mission takes a critical turn when they learn that Godzilla has resurfaced and is making its way toward Japan. With tensions rising between Japan and the Soviet Union and no support from the US, Koichi is called back into service as a gunner. Though Noriko pleads with him not to risk his life, Koichi believes it's the only way to protect their future and provide for Akiko. Out at sea, the crew attempts to delay Godzilla while awaiting reinforcements. The monster, now even more powerful due to mutations caused by US nuclear testing during Operation Crossroads, emerges. Despite his fear, Koichi manages to fire on Godzilla. The team launches a mine into the creature's mouth and detonates it, temporarily taking Godzilla down and destroying half of its face. But the beast begins to regenerate. Soon after, the battleship Takao arrives to confront the monster. However, Godzilla submerges, charges its atomic breath, and unleashes a devastating blast and completely annihilating the Takao in a blinding flash. Shaken but alive, Koichi returns home and recounts the harrowing events to Noriko. He opens up about the trauma of surviving his first encounter with Godzilla and the guilt he still carries for those he couldn't save. Noriko quietly embraces him, offering comfort in the face of overwhelming fear. A few days later, chaos erupts in Ginza as Godzilla makes landfall, launching a devastating assault on the city. Noriko, aboard a commuter train, is caught in the destruction when the monster tears it apart, though she narrowly escapes with her life. Upon realizing Noriko is in danger, Koichi rushes into the heart of the city while panicked. Civilians flee in all directions. He manages to reach her just as the military engages Godzilla in a desperate counterattack. However, the creature begins charging its atomic breath once again. In the devastating blast that follows, Noriko shoves Koichi into an alleyway, shielding him from the explosion, but she is swept away in the blast. In the aftermath, Koichi searches in vain for her and, overcome with grief, assumes she has perished, standing amid the ruins left in Godzilla's wake as the monster returns to the sea. Soon after, Koichi attends a meeting with fellow soldiers where Doc presents a bold strategy to eliminate Godzilla. The plan involves luring the creature underwater and using Freon tanks to lower the pressure and crush it. However, without government support, the group resolves to execute the plan independently. As a backup, they devise an alternate method, forcing Godzilla to resurface and subjecting it to explosive decompression using high-altitude balloons. Koichi later reunites with Tachibana and enlists his help in securing a fighter jet loaded with explosives, intending to pilot it directly into Godzilla's mouth to destroy the beast from within. Aware of the high likelihood he may not return, and of the possibility of leaving Akiko an orphan, Koichi nevertheless presses forward. Before departing, he entrusts money to their neighbor Sumiko, who has been caring for Akiko, ensuring her safety in his absence. As Godzilla resurfaces, the team sets their plan into motion. The creature makes landfall once more, but Koichi bravely flies in and attacks its face, forcing it back into the ocean. Doc's strategy is deployed. Freon-powered machinery pulls Godzilla underwater, followed by a balloon-based explosive decompression. Despite the coordinated effort, the monster survives both assaults. More ships join in, working together to drag Godzilla beneath the surface, but their efforts only enrage the beast further. As Godzilla begins charging another devastating heat blast, the soldiers prepare for the worst, until Koichi returns in the jet, steering it directly into Godzilla's mouth. In a dramatic moment, he ejects seconds before impact, revealed in a flashback as advice from Tachibana to use the eject function. The jet detonates inside the creature, destroying its head and causing its body to disintegrate. Relief and joy sweep through the team as they realize Koichi has survived. Back in Tokyo, Koichi is reunited with Akiko, brought by Sumiko along with a note. He and the others rush to the hospital where they find Noriko alive, though she shows signs of radiation exposure. Koichi embraces her, overwhelmed with emotion. In the film's final image, a chunk of Godzilla's flesh sinks beneath the sea, quietly beginning to regenerate. The film follows Koichi Shikishima, a former kamikaze pilot haunted by survivor's guilt after a harrowing encounter with the legendary Godzilla. Returning to a war-torn Tokyo, Koichi unexpectedly forms a surrogate family with Noriko, a stranger, and a young orphan girl they name Akiko. Years later, Godzilla reemerges, now mutated by American nuclear testing and more powerful than ever. Resistant to conventional attacks and capable of regenerating, the monster wreaks havoc, destroying a battleship and soon turning its wrath on the city of Ginza, where Noriko works. Koichi races to save her, but Godzilla's devastating heat blast reduces the city to ruins, and Noriko is presumed dead. Desperate for redemption, Koichi joins his friend Doc, who devises a daring plan to trap and destroy Godzilla at sea. When the strategy fails and all seems lost, Koichi takes matters into his own hands, piloting an explosives-laden jet directly into Godzilla's mouth. He ejects at the last moment, and the resulting explosion obliterates the monster. Koichi survives and returns to find Noriko alive, though suffering from radiation exposure. But beneath the ocean's surface, a fragment of Godzilla's flesh begins to regenerate, hinting that the nightmare may not be over.